Welcome, welcome, welcome. It's Friday. All right. Friday night here in southeastern Michigan. Glad you guys are here. I'm Patrick, 8 Questions With, and we are rolling along strong here with Women in Horror Month. Super excited for our guest tonight. We will be talking to one of the most extraordinary cosplayers I've seen. And believe me, I've seen a lot because I watched Sneaky Zebra. Um, Terrific, terrific cosplayer. So creative and such fun to watch. Her name's Vale, and she will be here, and we are going to talk about the world of cosplay. And that sort of fits too. Because back when I first started going to Comic Cons, because I'm that old. Um, it used to be like a lot of people would dress up, and they sort of look like Halloween costumes. I mean, it just wasn't any thought really put behind it. People wear masks from Halloween. Basically, they take their Halloween costume and transfer it over to the costumes they wore at the conventions. But I think that started changing with the Star Wars fans, from what I saw. So pretty soon you started seeing Star Wars fans, especially the famed 501st Legion. They started coming up to Comic Cons, and their costumes were on point. I mean, they really look awesome. And it seemed like after that happened, I started noticing all the costumes all started to become really good. I mean, really strong. And and it's pretty soon you have started having contests and what have you. And wow, what a mind blower! So much creativity, so much originality, and cosplay took on a life of its own. Now you got people that go to these conventions not only to hunt for collectibles and comics and movies and all that, or getting celebrities to sign their autographs or pictures. Now you got the cosplayers, and in their own right, they are celebrities as well, which I'm sure Vale is, because I don't think you do what she does without that. Hi Jennifer, how are you? Hey Anthony, how are you? And Drew is here. We will be talking to a cosplayer today. Her name is Vale, and she'll be here soon enough, in about 10 minutes or so. Now, I don't know, because we talked about this, but I'm not sure, and I didn't press for it. But I don't know if she's going to show up in costume or not. Um, I hope so. I hope so. I would be really cool. I'm not sure if she will or not. I didn't ask her to or anything like that. Um, because I do want to get to the person behind the costume. So sometimes the costume can be distracting, but at the same time, I think it'd be really cool so you can see her skills. She makes all her costumes. They're handmade. She's and that's one thing about cosplayers too. They've gotten extremely original and extremely skilled with their costumes. You can't go out there and buy a cosplay costume. I mean, not to be considered a true player. You have to create it. You have to go out and make it. My buddy Catfish, he actually went and made a Black Panther one. He made a Black Panther cosplay. Now, my buddy, rest in peace. Um, hey, Kyle, how are you? Um, he wasn't what you would think to be the prototypical Black Panther, right? I mean, he was a big guy, but he still dressed the part. And that's one thing about cosplay is like nobody judges you on what you look like. Body type. No one judges you on that. They judge you on your costume. If your costume is on point, you no matter what you look like, you're gonna get love. You're gonna get nothing but love. I know. I saw that. I saw that the last two Comic Cons that I went to. I saw people dressed up, and I'm going like, wow. I mean, I thought they were actually. I thought it was like, wow, they're going out there like that. That's awesome. That's what better way to express your fandom, right? Dressing like Green Arrow, or dressing up like or the Flash, or like one guy I saw, he had I saw Iron Man blockbuster costume. I saw one guy dressed up like a Jaeger from Pacific Rim, and plus all the great costumes and stuff you could see when you watch Sneaky Zebra. which I'm gonna put Sneaky Zebra's channel down in the description box along with Vale's information, because that way you can go over and take a look at those guys. They go around to different conventions around the world and they make music videos, and they're absolutely fantastic. I'm not sure if Vale has not been on one of their videos. I have not seen it for we need a cheetah cosplay. Yeah, I would do that. I would do that, but I don't think they would actually let me bring the cheetah inside about the fan page. No, Kyle, no. I had to get ready for my show tonight. So I'll look at it afterwards for sure. I definitely will. I'll look at it. Um, yeah, because I know if you create I think a fan page. Ooh, okay, well, I'll talk to you about that later. But she's here, so you know how we do it. We don't let guests rest in the basement any more than we have to. So let's go get her. So help me please welcome our guest, Vale.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi,
How
how
are
are you
you?
doing?
Doing
I am
good.
doing
Doing good.
Oh, good. Good, good, good. I never realized how grainy my computer quality is.
No, you look fine. You look fine. I'm very
Yeah.
excited and honored to meet you. I've been watching your Instagram now for like the last 6 months, and I'm going like,
Oh,
that's some incredible skill.
thank you. Thank you. It's just a lot of fun and me just hanging out and trying new stuff. I mean, it's just a hobby. So any new thing that I learn is just another tick on the skill set, you know?
Yes, yes. Um, I mean, to be able, I mean, the world of cosplay. I was mentioning it before you got here.
Mhm.
I know that cosplay has grown leaps and bounds.
Oh,
It has become its
yes.
own thing.
It absolutely have. Like I started 7 7 or 8 years ago or so. I had a friend in grad school who, dragged me into it, and, I mean, she got the idea because, so I'm a archaeologist as a background, and my archaeology lab, we did a Halloween event where it was a week long, and every single day of the week, it had a theme for the day, and I did a costume for every single day. And, she came to me at the end, she's like, "Hey, do you know about cosplay?" And I'm like, "No, what's that?" So, she got me into cosplay, and then I've just been building ever since.
Yeah, because cosplay when I first saw it way back when, it was basically just people dressed up in Halloween costumes,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
they
It's
would
the
just show up.
gateway.
Yeah, it was just they would, like, and then sooner than slowly started seeing it. I thought for sure, I don't know in the world of cosplay this is true or not, but for what I saw when it went from being from sort of like to like being like a sideshow basically to like
Mhm.
becoming the show
Oh,
with
yeah.
the Star Wars guys, the
Oh,
the
yeah.
stormtroopers.
There was, so that's the 501st you're thinking of. They're nationwide at this point. They're flipping huge, and they have such high standards for their costumes to the point where the Star Wars studios will actually call upon local, cosplayers and use them as behind the scenes people in some of their films. And I think it was I'm trying to remember the name of it now. There was a TV show back in like the mid 2010s or so that kind of kicked it off and made cosplay more public. And then people really got into it with the pandemic. That's how I saw some of the biggest boom is with people and coming in from COVID times, having to be quarantined, and they're like, "All right, I need a hobby. Let me just pick this up and see how it goes." And then it became more mainstream, and there's a lot more resources now, which I appreciate. I like being able to find more of the resources.
Yes, especially since the costumes are all handmade. The
Mhm.
ones that are, the legitimate ones are all handmade.
Mhm. I
Um,
make practically all of mine because when I started off, I was still in grad school, so I didn't have all that many funds that I could, put to getting like the really expensive fabrics. So, and also buying some of the ones online because like when I started, it was still kind of expensive to get some good quality stuff. So I've just been making most of mine ever since, but there's so much more stuff now. Like right now, I'm looking at a Captain Carter costume that I want to get, and that's a good one is minimum about like $300 or so. That's just the suit. That doesn't include the shield.
Right. Where do
Mhm.
yeah. But now, all that, this, all the, do you have to go out there and hunt all the materials? I mean, it's like basically, well, I'm going to mention this because you made a dress.
Oh, I
You know,
make lots
you
of
mentioned,
stuff. Yeah.
right, right. So, I mean, it used to be like you go out to different fabric stores and you buy the
Mhm.
pattern, and
Mhm.
you go home and make it based on a pattern.
Yep,
But
yep.
does that happen? Is that the same thing now with cause? Do they have patterns in fabric stores now that,
Oh, yeah.
Oh, they do.
There is a so back the TV series I was mentioning about, which is like the early 2010s, there's a cosplayer on there. It was like War of the Nerds or something, where they went over a bunch of cosplayers, more of the professional level ones. One of them was called Yaya Han. She's on TikTok and she's one of the professional ones. So she goes about to different conventions as a guest cosplayer. She made her own fabric line and cosplay pattern line. So you can get the cosplay patterns for like jumpsuits. You can get the what is the King Henry's Wives, Six the musical. They have patterns for like Six the musical outfits. So there's a lot of patterns nowadays for cosplay. I've always just taken like general patterns and edited them down to what I need. So like I'm working on a Donna Benevito dress right now, and I just took a pilgrim dress and edited the pattern for what I needed.
Now, you mentioned, I mentioned that young lady being a guest and going to different events,
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
but you're at that level too, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Technically I am. I just
I
get
know conventions must invite you in. They have to.
not really. I don't hear a lot from conventions as guests. Um,
Really?
I've I've done panels before, but I like to go to conventions to kind of just enjoy the conventions. So I'm at the level where I could go professional if I wanted to, but this is a hobby for me and I like to keep it as a hobby. So I know for me if I start going to like attending the cosplay conventions, if I start going as a guest, I'll start to see it more as like a second job. And I already have a second job. So I'd like to keep my hobby as a hobby, you know?
Right.
Mhm.
Okay. Well, yeah, I just heard you say that there's conventions for cosplayers. Now, I didn't know there's anything dedicated to solely to cosplay.
Mhm.
I thought it was always hand in hand with the comic conventions. When did you notice that? When did they split? When did cosplay get their own, or did you go to your first cosplay that was solely designed for you guys?
So comic conventions typically have always had cosplayers. It just depends upon which type of comic convention you're going to, because you can go to specifically like straight old classic comic conventions. You can go to animes ones. There are even conventions where they're specific for themes. Like there's a Transformers themed convention that's so cool. It's so cool. But typically, I mean, if you just go to like a comic convention, you'll have a variety of cosplayers from each genre, but it wasn't until, like, about the later 2010s that I started to see more of the professional cosplayers come out, where people could actually go and make a career out of doing cosplay full time, and you still absolutely can, you just gotta be ready to work a bit for it. Social media presence is a huge part of it nowadays too.
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
Yeah.
jeez,
You have over like 50,000 people following you on
just on
Instagram.
Instagram. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
just Instagram.
What's your following on TikTok?
It's over 500,000.
500,000 people.
Yeah, it's a little bit
Half
over
half
half a
half a
million.
million. So
Mhm,
500,000 there plus 50,000 on Instagram.
mhm.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's weird.
I'm not surprised. I'm not
It's
surprised.
weird. I've never really had much of a social media standing before, so to just be like, "Yeah, I have this many number of followers," it's like, "This is how many people like my stuff. Nice."
But you must come home every day from work and sit down and just be inundated with people asking you questions. How do I do this? What should I do that? What's your opinion about that? I'm going to send you this. I mean, how you mentioned about how not becoming a second, a third job, but it sounds like it really could already be that already.
It
How,
it it could be a third job if I wanted it to be. It's not it's not as bad as you would assume. The way that TikTok has switched stuff up since like 2020. Since then, TikTok has switched up their algorithm when they brought more of the celebrities on board. It's been a very slow kind of downward decline of the cosplayers that you see on TikTok. So there's more of the mainstream stuff, kind of like the content you would see on Vine that's more pushed on TikTok right now. So that's also kind of been the same for like viewership and interaction. It's just been a little bit slow decline. Instagram's had a lot more recently, but that's because I've had continuous growth on Instagram. So
Yeah, I noticed that. I mean, you're not only that, but your skill set for your videos is also very stunning. I mean, so it's
thank
like
you.
basically you're just an all around very talented, multi talented individual.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. It's just a lot of work. I mean, it's with any kind of hobby that you have at the very beginning when you start off, you're going to suck. That's just how it goes when you're starting off with anything at the beginning. It's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be good. Like I'll look on back some of the early videos that I made when it was back in about like 2017, 2018 when I first started on TikTok and I'm like, "Oof, that is not good content." And but it's just a growth and progression. So you just got to test some things out, figure what you like to do. Like I like to play around with lights a lot and I love transitions for my videos. So it's just finding what you vibe with.
Uh, do you still have your first videos up?
No,
Oh
no.
no
I took
no.
those down. Well, I mostly took them down because I think, what was it? A couple of them were glitched because they were an older version of TikTok, so it was no longer supporting that formatting or something. So some of the older videos were glitching. They took a lot of old sounds down, so there was no more sounds on the older ones. And then a couple of them were like early tester makeups for one of my characters I have. That was a developing idea for how I wanted her to look. And then later on, I was like, I don't really like how this early makeup looks. I'm just going to hide these videos. Nobody needs to see this early development. There's
So
some earlier stuff on, but I took a bit off.
well, who did you follow? I mean, who was your inspiration? I mean, or was it just yourself? I mean, did you just see it and say I could do that, or was there any particular person dressed up? I mean, I do know that the progression of cosplay, it did to me. Like I said, I thought it went with the 501st as well.
Mhm.
And then you started seeing like a San Diego Comic Con. Then you started seeing all these. Well, let's be honest, a lot of the really pretty girls got down there, and so of
Uh-huh.
course they got filmed and talked about and whatnot.
Yep.
Um, and
If
who knew? Honestly, when I was doing some research for the cosplay, I didn't realize there were so many alternative actresses and actors doing cosplay.
Yes. It kinda goes hand in hand nowadays, which is really nice because you can see that overlap, like TikTok, not TikTok, cosplay, it overlaps with the alternative, it overlaps with, like, cottagecore, it just goes into so many different styles, and it's really cool. But
Well,
for me, when
what is cottagecore?
oh, so cottagecore, so think of, like, Pilgrims and Homestead style,
Hmm.
where it's earthy tones. It's nice, bright earthy tones, very colorful, natural themes. Um, I'm trying to think about like the best way to describe it. It's just kind of it's a very homey feel. A little bit kind of like what you would expect your grandmom's home to feel like is the vibe that I get from cottagecore. But
Do you have a costume? Do you have costumes that do that as well, or did you just you pretty much you're into the video game. Your call to fame is okay. I know I'm not gonna be able to say this name right, so I'm gonna let you say it. Lady Demetrius.
Lady Alcina Dimitrescu from Resident Evil Village 8 that came out 1.5 years ago. Oddly enough, the very first character that I got viral with on TikTok was another video game character. It was Laura Croft. Um, I don't have any cottage core. Cottage core is not really my style that I like to go for. I'm trying to go for more of what I'm calling the dark adventure core, which
Okay.
is more leaning toward dark academia meets an anthropologist. So it's like put together classy earthy looks, but ready to go out on a hike if need be.
Honestly, I'm sitting here, I'm just thinking about this, and I'm going like, "Yeah, okay, so what would happen if she dressed up like the Shadow? That would be
What's
so
the
bad."
shadow?
You don't know who the Shadow is?
No, what's the shadow?
Oh,
From what's it from?
1930s? He was
$1930s?
Lamont Cranston?
One moment, let me get it pulled up.
Oh my gosh. Of course, you would have to put your own unique twist on it, but I'm just thinking to myself, going like,
The
why couldn't
shadow.
you have a female
Well,
Shadow?
what was that date again? The
That would
1930s,
be
you said?
yes, 1930s.
1930s. All right, let me get this pulled up. From the Detective Story Hour.
Yes.
Oh, okay. So it's kind of like a.
It's a pulp hero.
Oh, it's Pulp Fiction. Okay, that's cool. I'd have to do more digging into the character. I like the design.
Oh, that
One
would
thing I
be yeah, that would be interesting.
One thing I like to do with my cosplays is that I don't like to cosplay a character if I don't know their source material. Just
Right.
because I feel like if I don't know where the character's coming from, I can't do an okay job with portraying the character as accurately as I want to do, especially for like canonical characters. So for like Lady Dimitrescu, I'm just still getting into video games. I started getting into those about 2, 3 years ago or so because I didn't have them growing up. So because I wasn't at the skill set where I could play the video game, so I watched as many playthroughs as I could to figure
Right.
out how the character worked, how she interacted, what her mechanics were like.
Yeah, I didn't know her at all until, when I'm going like, "Okay, so who's this? I gotta find out who she is." And then I read her background, and I'm
Oh,
going like,
She got big
oh, yeah,
fast.
literally." Yeah, I
Mhm.
saw I saw the stilts.
Oh, the stilts? Yeah. No, the stilts are fun. Those put me at 8 feet tall.
Oh my, yeah, she's 9 foot
Mhm.
and she's 9 foot in the game.
Mhm. I thought about doing 9 foot, but then I was like, doors might be a problem, and I don't want to push myself with doors. If I did 9 feet, that would make me a little bit too disproportionate. I'm gonna stick with 8 feet for safety's sake.
No, he's fine. Yeah,
Mhm.
I saw you out there going like, "That's amazing." I'm just so blown away by that.
It's
And
fun.
it is fun. I guess it's really fun because you love the character and it comes across clear as day.
Mhm.
You know the character, you love the character, you have respect for the character, and you respect the source material.
Mhm.
You can easily put your own twist on it, but it's like, no, this is who she is. This is what I'm going to see her as,
Mhm.
I really appreciate that because I think it's really cool.
Mhm.
Uh, so I mean, and you just got into the games too.
Oh yeah.
What was your first costume? The very first one that you did that you
Oh
went out.
lord. My very first costume I did was one that is kind of like what they call closet cosplay, which is taking pieces that you already have, like functional pieces from your wardrobe, from your closet, and putting it together. It was a Jurassic Park ranger. I love
Really?
Jurassic Park. I love dinosaurs. I already had half of the outfit because I was in school for archaeology. So I was like, it's just half of my field gear. Let me get the patches. Let me get a vest, make a badge. Boom, Jurassic Park Ranger. And that was my
You're,
first one.
you're an archaeologist?
I'm a cartographer right now. So I work with maps. I used to be an archaeologist.
Oh my gosh.
Mhm.
Okay. Well, that answers one question. Uh, uh, so I mean, so the sense of adventure, you've always had that.
Oh, yeah.
You've had that before the cosplay. Where are some of the places that you've been to? Where have you dug at? Some of the places you dug at. Where were you looking for?
So there's a couple I can't talk about because I'm still under a non-disclosure about. I did grad school out in Indiana, so a lot of our projects out in the Midwest, we were doing reconnaissance work, looking for Native American sites. So we'd go out into the cornfields and soy fields where the dirt was already turned up, and we would just walk for acres and acres and acres looking for any sort of drop site. So we would look for little pieces of pottery. We'd look for flakes of stone from when they were doing flint knapping, which is the creation of stone tools, any arrowheads we could find. We sometimes found historic pieces from old settler houses. And then up and down the East Coast, I did more work of that, but it was more culture resource management. CRM is what it's called. So that's what most of the majority of the archaeology in the United States is, because it's fueled by our Constitution. There's part of our Constitution, Section 106, where it says if you're going to use federal funds to do any sort of digging, any sort of ground disturbance, you have to get an archaeologist to come in to make sure that, you're not digging up anything historically important. We don't have as much history as the rest of the world, so we got to take care and preserve as much as we can.
No, I know that. I'm always concerned when I see our national battlefields being divided up.
Oh,
Yeah, Gettysburg, and I see roads crossing the battlefields. It breaks my heart.
yeah. I used to do a lot of Civil War battlefield sites. So it's really sad how there is some people who don't respect the history of it. Like, you'll see the people who just go out with the metal detectors and they'll just walk up and down and they'll pick artifacts willy-nilly and they don't record anything. They'll be like, "Hey guys, look, I found this at a national park." And I'm sitting there going, "No, please go
Yeah,
tell the park ranger where you found that. Get some record of where it is."
yeah. Yeah, they're not. They're just all out. They're out for themselves. They don't really care about anything, and you could tell that too.
Yeah.
I don't have much respect for metal detectors. No respect for metal
Mhm.
detectors on battlefields that don't do that.
Yeah.
I love history, and I think it should be preserved as well. So
Oh yeah. It's getting better with TikTok. I mean, with social media, just because there's been more sharing of resources and information, more people are getting an insight onto how archaeology in the United States works. So it's slowly getting better from where it used to be.
now, do you go around? Have you given speeches? Have you given talks about that? So I mean, the reason I'm asking you a little bit about this because I mean, I could definitely see how your background definitely influences your present. To explore and to see different things and try different things. I mean, an archaeologist is nothing other more than an explorer. It's like what's out there. I want to know.
Mhm. I
You
used
know,
to do talks when I was still doing archaeology. I'd go to conferences and do presentations on what we are working on. I'm from a military family as a background, so I've moved about 17 or so times, and I've lived in 2 other countries. So I give that to the adventure nature that I have. But it's fun. It's cool. I love learning about people and cultures.
So let's go back to your first costume. Now, had you ever been to a Comic Con before that? Had you ever been there before? And or did you grow up? Did you read comic books? Did you read adventure, science fiction, fantasy? Were you into that?
Mhm. I did read some fantasy growing up. I didn't get more into the comics until later in life just because I had a pretty strict childhood growing up. So I wasn't able to do more exploration into the comic side and video game side of stuff until later in life. But I love fantasy growing up. Lord of the Rings, Aragon, Narnia. Uh, the White Witch of Narnia was actually my second cosplay that I made.
Oh, okay. So you went as Jadis.
Oh, I love Jadis. She's another
Yeah,
top.
yeah,
She's
yeah.
also tall. I can do her with my stilts. Uh-oh.
Are you
That
gonna?
is
Are you gonna bring some character now? When you dressed up as a character like that,
Mhm,
you mean you're able to go up and take pictures and sign? Are you able to sign pictures and take and post pictures on there without any consideration? I mean, I'm just asking. Do companies like you can't make a fan movie and make money off of it? If I wanted to make a Narnia movie, I could make it, but it would have to be all out of my pocket. I couldn't go ahead and say,
mhm.
"Hey, I made a movie, come buy it." Um,
Yes, it would have to be a fan made. I would not be able to take any credit or make any money out of that because that is a licensed character.
right, right.
Mhm.
Now, have you come up with your own original character?
Oh, yes, I've come up with how many do I have at this point? I think it's over 20, I think. One moment. I have a list of them somewhere. I've made up a good couple of worlds. I actually have a tag on TikTok, which is a community tag. So it's a location setting where people can bring their other original characters and they can have them interact in this location. Where is my list of cosplays? Because I do have that list somewhere if I can find it quick enough. But I have built a good couple over the past 6 or so years. And I have 3 big storylines that I've done with 2 other cosplayers. And we're working on getting 2 more released here very soon. One, which is technically a second season of what we had worked on before. 23. 23 original characters.
With the original characters.
Mhm.
Now, have you brought them all? I mean, can we see that? Were they all? Most of your work's on TikTok, isn't it?
Most of my work's on TikTok, and I'm slowly getting stuff on Instagram because my Instagram is only about a year and a half old.
Wow, a year and a half, and you got 52,000.
Well, I also pushed a lot of content as well too, so that helped.
Yeah, I saw a couple of your pictures. A couple of your posts have over 100,000 on there, and we're like,
Mhm.
that's
Yep.
that's amazing.
It's Lady
Yeah.
D. Everyone likes tall Lady D.
Is she definitely your most popular characters that you've done so far?
She's not my most popular. She's about my third or so most popular character. First one was the Lara Croft Tomb Raider. That had over one of her videos had over 6.5 million views, I think, the last time I checked. And then I think the other popular one was my devil character, Ipos. I don't
Okay.
remember how many views she has.
I saw one that took me back because I actually guessed wrong on it. I saw it and I was going like, oh, it's Constantine. I thought
Constantine! I could see that.
I said it was Constantine, and then I saw it was Harvey Dent, and I'm going like, oh, it looks so much like Constantine. I was thinking, okay,
Hmm.
that's so cool, because who would do that? No one would do that kind of. I haven't seen anybody do that.
Oh, I
Um,
love my
so
Harvey Dent. I need to do that again.
uh, now the first convention you went to, I
Mhm.
mean, how nervous were you? How nervous were you doing it, and how did you overcome your jitters? And what would you tell someone who's just doing it for the very first time this weekend? Like, today. It's my first cosplay. I'm dressed up, like Stingray.
Mhm. First thing, make sure your costume is comfy. Make sure you are comfortable for wearing that for about 3+ hours. And if you're not comfortable with wearing that for 3+ hours, bring a backup. People change all the time. Typically, whenever I go to a convention, I have about 2 costumes planned for one day. Sometimes I'll switch into both of them. Most of the time, the second one I bring is a backup in case something happens. Because you always have a wardrobe function. You can never tell when that's going to happen, but go for a small one. My very first convention was a really, really tiny one, and I wasn't nervous because I didn't have any idea of what to expect. It was really, when I say tiny, it was really, really tiny. I think it was in the town hall for a very, very small town just in the middle of nowhere, and it was just an assortment of booths. There wasn't even a costume contest. There was a costume
Mhm.
show where they just invited people to come up and
Right.
be like, "This is what I'm wearing."
Yeah, that's what I remember too. We used to go to Motor City Comic Con. Me and my buddy Farm. We went there, and that's what it was. It was just like, okay, everybody, we're gonna come over and do, show off the
Yeah.
costume. And then it started become a contest. And actually, the
Yeah.
contests were starting to happen before the pandemic, way before the pandemic. Actually,
Mhm.
at least Motor City Comic Con.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah.
so it was starting to blow up before. It was starting to get there. I mean, there was people. I mean, before it was be like I said, it was sort of like a side thing. It was like a
Mhm.
gaming area here, and
Yeah.
booths over here, and cosplays over here. But all of a sudden, it slowly became to where people were coming to see the cosplayers as much as
Mhm.
you
Or
know they went
especially for the
yeah.
bigger ones. Like, the LA Comic Con, KatsuCon, which just happened last month or so. There's Galaxy Convention, GalaxyCon that happens in North Carolina and Virginia. They have two of them. Chicago Comic and Entertainment Expo. That's a big one. That's been getting so big. This year they've got Chris Pine. So if you like Marvel, that's such a good convention too. I love that convention. Spooky
Now,
Empire.
how many conventions have you been invited to as a guest?
One, just one.
Just one?
Mhm.
Is that because you don't put it out there? I mean, you don't really solicit that. I mean, I'm sure a convention person, and promoter worth it. Well, if they're worth their salt anyway. Um, they see you. They don't approach you and say, next time you come, I want you to be on my guest. I want you to come in and go underneath a press pass,
Yeah.
or talent pass. The only one. Wow,
Mhm.
that's
Only one, and that's because a friend is putting it together, well, at least they're helping out, a person to put it together, and they were like, "Hey, can we put you on the list as a guest?" I'm like, "Yes." So, I
yeah.
think it's mostly because I don't advertise it that I am available to guest, because I typically like to just go with my friends and hang out. I might start doing that this year. We'll see how
I
things
think you
go.
should. I think you
It'd be
should.
nice. Well, part of
I
it is that, guests go with, prints. They'll have prints of their photographs, and I don't have prints set up yet. I need to figure out how that works.
Oh, I can't think of a better way to do it than to ask your peers.
Oh,
How do
yeah.
you do it? Yeah, how do you do it? I'm sure they walk you right through it. I'm sure
Oh,
they'd be
yeah.
happy to do it too.
Yeah, no, I have
Oh,
a couple of friends who are guest cosplayers. I just haven't had the time to really sit down and figure out how that works quite yet.
yeah. I would hope that you do it because I would like to see you more, more well known for that. Have you ever heard of Sneaky Zebra?
No.
Really? Oh my gosh. I'm doing after this interview is over. I was going to ask you this anyway, but after this interview is over, I definitely going to send this and your page over to them. They're
Mhm,
they're they're an English crew, and what
mhm.
they do, they go around to conventions all over the world, and they film cosplayers, and
Oh,
then
that's cool.
they put it to music. It's
Oh,
so
oh, they're a
awesome.
film production troupe. Oh, that's amazing. I love those stuffs.
Yeah, Sneaky Zebra is the cast meow. It's the elite of the elite, and their videos are so cool, and the costumes are just on point. And
Man,
I well, the first thing I thought of when I saw you, when I saw that, I'm like, oh, Sneaky Zebra needs to see this because your costume you know, was just so on point.
oh, thank
Um,
you.
oh no, thank you. I have nothing. I feel so cool. And my buddy, my friend who unfortunately passed away last year, he he started getting the cosplay. He dressed up like Black Panther.
Oh,
And
that's fun.
I was really what I was really, I was so I had such admiration for him too because he was a big fella.
Mhm,
He wasn't Chadwick.
mhm.
Um, but he still did it anyway. He
Oh,
says,
yes.
and I'm going like, that's so cool because you think of cosplay, you think of everybody being the body perfect,
Oh,
but cosplay,
nobody is going
no,
to be body
no,
perfect.
no, no. Now people come out and it's all about the costume. Nobody really cares what you look like, but they sure as hell care about the costume accuracy, don't they?
Mhm. Especially if you're doing a canon character and that's what you're trying to go for. The thing about cosplay now is that it has grown to the point where you don't need to be canon accurate if you don't want to. It's just a hobby and people are doing it for fun. So you don't need to be there are some characters where I hope you're not body perfect for them just because there could be some health concerns related. But cosplay's for everybody, no matter your skin tone, your religion, your body type, your age. If you have a character that you admire and you want to go for it, go for it. Like I've done Laura Croft and I'm not buff like she is, but it just depends upon what makes you happy. And you don't need everything for the costume either. You can have as little or as much for the characters you want. I've seen people take two different characters and mash them together to make a new one.
I've seen that too. I've
Uh-huh. I
seen that
love
too.
the
Yeah, I saw.
mashups.
Yeah, that's so cool. I saw that. I've seen a few on Sneaky Zebra like that, and it's
Mhm.
like that's cool as hell.
It's so cool.
What characters would you? What two characters would you like to see mesh of
Oh,
yours?
I've done it already. It's one of my cursed costumes I love. So I took the Lorax and Poison Ivy, mashed them together, and made Poilax. It's cursed. I love it so much.
Is that on your Instagram?
Mhm. It's on
Okay,
Insta.
I got to go. I have to. I have not gone all the way to the end and come back up. I just but I need to do that. But I've gone to. I think I've gone like maybe like a quarter down.
Mhm.
Um, and then there is one thing I did catch a little bit of, and this is something that we should talk a little bit about. Um, Sometimes there's a fine line between fandom and people being a little bit rude, or have isn't there?
Mhm. There always is. It's hard to sometimes remind people that, hey, this is a cosplayer. This is not the actual character itself. Remember, this is a person that's not the character.
Do people actually come up to you and talk to you about the character? Like, they want to, they want you to be the character and they want
Oh,
you to
yes.
talk like it.
Oh,
Oh,
yes.
that's sort of weird.
Especially for Lady Dimitrescu, I've had a good number of people come up to me at conventions being quite rude as the character. I'll have requests for people to be like, "Hey, can you slap me or can you step on me?" And I'll have to be like, "Sorry, we're in a public location and I'm personally not comfortable with that."
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that's so creepy. That's creepy.
Oh, you get weird, creepy people all the time.
Uh, is that a tiny, 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 a minuscule percent of problems? Please tell me yes. I mean, it's not a growing problem, is it? Because I hate to see that, but it seems like the more successful something gets, it does seem to drag the roaches out of the wall.
It You kinda have to have the mentality to be at least a little bit prepared for some online harassment. Because we have the internet and people can be anonymous, there are some very audacious people that come out, and I'm sitting there just going, "I why would you comment that? Why would you say that? You have a blank screen, that's why you would say that." And it
Oh,
varies depending
they
upon
send you
account.
they send you messages?
Oh, direct messages? Yes. I've had some
Oh,
very, very weird requests from people in direct messages.
God, it just sucks. It
There
sucks.
was, you get the feet pic requests, of course. There's the feet pic request. There was one guy who was sexualizing my kneecaps, and that got weird. There was another dude who said this was probably a scammer, who said he was from the UK, but he was like, "Hey, I'll pay you over this much money if you come do a cosplay porno shoot with me." And I'm like, "No, no." Especially
No,
for photographers.
you haven't had anybody weird asking about your feet, have you?
Yeah.
Okay, on behalf of my cheetah, I apologize for that. I don't know what that is. He loves feet. I'm not even kidding you.
Is the
I'm not
cheetah
even.
the cat over here?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
He's a okay, is that a live feed?
No, that's just a picture. He's half domestic and he's half British Shorthair and he's half cheetah.
He's
Uh,
so cute. I was looking at that, I'm like, "Is that a live feed of a cat? Because that's adorable."
yeah, I'd like to see someone cosplay him.
I mean, I might have Cheetah from the
Cats.
yes.
Yes. Yes. Wow, they're going to be doing that. They're going to be doing a movie like that. Now,
Mhm.
do you keep track of movies coming up, and do you get inspired by, like, okay, like a Thundercat, if it's coming out like within a year or so, do you get
Mhm.
inspired to try to get ahead of the trend and
Oh,
create
yes.
yes.
Oh, yes,
Why am I not surprised by that?
that's
I should
one
have
thing
known.
that you have to keep a track on, especially if you want to keep up with the trends. And the thing with TikTok is that, and Instagram as well, is that social media nowadays moves so fast that it is just a constant stream of, it's a kind of a constant struggle of making sure that you're up on the trends. Like 1.5 or 2 years ago, remember when Arcane came out?
Yes.
It blew up and it was so big, and I wanted to do Vi. I just didn't have the time to put the character together, but we're supposed to be getting a second season of Arcane out here very soon. So I'm waiting on the edge of my seat for when they release some of the concept art for Vi because I want to do an upgraded look for her.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
Or
That
like
would
when
be.
Lady Dimitrescu, when the Resident Evil Village stuff started being released, I built my very first look for her in 3 days based upon the early screenshots that they had, because I was like, "This character is gonna blow up. I need to have something prepared."
Yeah, you were definitely prepared. Um, it said, my friend Hobbs mentions here, do you do any Halloween cosplay? No, for the season. Do you dress in different costumes for seasons?
Oh, yeah. Yes,
Oh,
yes,
okay.
yes. Especially for TikTok, just because TikTok is very, very fickle for especially for cosplayers. So I like to do special effects and horror makeup, but TikTok is very interesting
Yeah,
how they apply their guidelines. So if they
yeah.
see anything that looks like red jam, they're like, "Ah, blood!
Mm,
Block the
yeah.
video, don't show it." But this year I worked at a haunt, so I had a lot of Halloween costumes this past year.
We talked to a professional makeup artist, and she commented about that this week.
Mhm,
She commented how TikTok is like she built a cut on her hand for us while we're doing the interview.
mhm.
And so as she's doing it, she's making it, and then she's I couldn't do this on TikTok because they would come down on me for that.
They would take it
But
down, and you'd
yeah,
run the risk of having your account suspended, worst, just removed.
that's just yeah.
It
Um,
didn't used to be like that. It used to be a little bit, more easygoing.
well, you know what it is. I think they're trying to be on. They're trying to get ahead of because Congress right now they don't like that fact that the Chinese own it. So they
Yeah.
really want to force the Chinese out of TikTok, or they're talking about removing the platform altogether, and because it's foreign owned, it wouldn't infringe on anybody's rights. It's my right. No, it's a privately owned company, and it belongs to somebody that we don't like right now.
Mhm.
So your rights don't really matter for that. Plus, you
Well,
have that's unfortunate.
we'll see what happens. They've tried this before. I
Yeah.
mean, this is what, the 3rd or 4th attempt for them from the government's perspectives of them trying to remove it, so we'll see if something actually happens or not.
Well, as long as there's not any espionage or anything like that going on, as long and that's being quite serious. Is as long as there's not that going on, I think TikTok will be fine. But if they find that they're using it get intelligence, they're grooming people, or as long as they don't caught doing that, TikTok should be fine. But if they do, yeah, I see it being tightened even further. Um,
You
but not. I hope not. I mean, obviously, that's the worst case scenario. But the fact of the matter is that they're talking about it. It's like I'm sure you guys talk about it on TikTok, the platform, right? Like,
Mhm.
what's going on with it? Like, is it still going to be here in 6 months or so? I mean, who knows? Um, I'm just glad you have an Instagram account.
Oh, yeah. Now, I've been moving more stuff to my Instagram just because Instagram has been a bit more kinder to its creators than TikTok has been, especially for cosplayers. We'll see if TikTok's removed, though. I mean, they tried it during the Trump administration. It didn't really go through. And if
Yeah.
they're looking on the end for grooming, they probably should look a little bit closer on the national level instead of across the country. I mean, we've
Mhm.
had China try it with the balloons. So, I mean, they're doing something a little bit harder this year, focusing on espionage and overseas borders.
Yeah, that's true.
Mhm.
Um, how long does it usually take for you to dress up? Um, how much does it usually take you to dress up? What character is the hardest one to prepare for?
Oh, Lord. So the reason I'm not currently dressed up right now is that I got off work late and I had to take a shower and I have another event to go to after I'm done with this. So that's the reason why I'm not dressed up in costume right now. I'm also having a little bit of allergic reaction with my eyes to some makeup. The longest character it takes me to get into, so the quickest one to get into is Laura Croft. She's really simple. I've done that look a good couple dozen times at least, so I'm very practiced with the routine and how to get the lines how I want them. The character that took the longest to get into was a character look I did about a year and a half ago or so in a collaboration with another cosplayer on TikTok. And it was a love bug character. And she was a science experiment. The character that the collaborator was, he was a mad scientist. And it took me 6 hours to do the makeup for that look. And that involved using glow makeup, prosthetics, It was a lot of fun to do the look. It just very tired at the end of it because of how much time went into putting the character on.
Yeah, I can imagine. You think about actors in a chair, getting get makeup on. They'll be in the chair
Mhm.
for 2, 3 hours at a time. I'm just thinking, how could but some of your videos that you do though, Vale. Um, oh yes, and I've got we should let these people know this too. Not only about the weird part, about the weird. Oh my God, it just burns my ass. So you got some of the weird people. You got some people out there are so weird that out of your safety, you never use your first name. No one knows who you are. Um, though I will let you know off camera, you left yourself open. I saw that. I'll show it to you. I'm sure you probably thought about it or didn't know about it or didn't realize it, but you did leave yourself a little open, and I'll tell you about that off camera. But you can't go just be yourself 100%. You can't like I'm doing here, Patrick Michael. I'm doing a live interview show here on YouTube. I'm pretty open as a book, but you have to have security in place so you don't use your real name or anything. You can't use your real name when you do your videos or your appearances. Um, is that new? Is that just part of the part of the growth of the genre that's happened, or is that a constant thing that you have to be aware of because of the costuming and the characters?
It's just a typical internet safety thing. Like you said, the internet's full of weird people. Most cosplayers nowadays, they will have a alias that they'll use online. A lot of my internet friends, we didn't find out each other's real names until about 3 or so years into knowing each other and like, "Oh, yeah, by the way, this is my legal name," and everyone's like, "That's your legal name? No, 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 we don't use that. We don't wanna use that at all." So, it's just typical what most people do. Most people go by an alias. If someone throws out their normal name, everyone's like, no. No, no,
Right.
we don't accept the legal name. We're gonna go with what you use for online. And just typically as a safety precaution, I prefer not to state where I live.
Oh, of
I'm a
course.
very private person, just in general, and no one's really 100% themselves online all the time. That would be just far too exhausting to be yourself 100% of the time online. So, most people take these cautions, especially if they're traveling.
Yeah, because you mentioned before, I saw that before. You've had, you dress up and people see the costumes and they feel like, and we talked to another young lady who did haunts, and sometimes people feel like they can come up there and actually like touch your costume,
Oh,
or
yeah,
you,
that's
or you,
weird. Oh, yeah,
yeah,
that's
uh,
weird.
yeah. Uh, any bad stories about that? I mean, anything where it's gone too far, or if you turn it around and do your peers, do you police yourselves or watch each other's back? Like,
Mhm,
someone gets a little stupid, someone else will come up there and say,
mhm.
all this Hulk armor isn't all for show.
Yeah.
Take your hands off.
Typically, what I recommend for any cosplayers, no matter what your skill level is, no matter how experienced you are, if you're going to go to a convention, try to go with a buddy or at least a friend that you can trust. That way, you've got each other's back. I typically go to conventions with my friends. There's normally a group of about 2 to 5 plus people with me at conventions at all times, and that just makes the experience more enjoyable. I
Yeah.
have had instances where I've been touched inappropriately, have had inappropriate comments. Typically, it's during photos. You'll have people that'll try to get, a sneaky grab in of the behind while they're posed. So I've got a couple poses that I go to protect myself. The worst case one was actually at the haunt that I was this past year. I was walking around and my partner was on the complete other opposite side of the haunt area where I was, but there was other people around me. And this was a young child, but I was dressed up in Lady Dimitrescu, and there was a 13-year-old girl that came up to me, first asked for a hug. She went in for a hug without permission, and it was a very awkward hug because I was like, "Oh, okay, we're doing this hug." And then she just did, a full grab of my chest, and I'm like, "No, no, 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 hands off the chest." I got security called on her.
Wow, that's yeah. I would probably, yeah. See, Hobbs is mentioning here. Can't you just tell them to F off? Yeah, I probably would do that. I could tell you what I do when I saw that. I worked clubs for 10 years, nightclubs. I was a live music for 10 years, and sometimes I saw that kind of inappropriate behavior. And a lot of times the persons would put their hand on somebody's, wouldn't be
Mhm,
touching. The next thing they know, they're out the door on their butt.
mhm.
Yeah, so I'm with you about that, Hobbs.
You can tell
Yeah.
people to F off. It just depends upon how quickly it happens and how quickly you can react to it.
The professor says he has a huge respect for cosplayers. The amount of work and detail they put into making stuff is insane. Even if it was innocent, even if it was an innocent hug,
Mhm.
still without permission, because the costumes themselves are, to me, I would just be absolutely like, I'd be afraid to be within 5 feet because I wouldn't, especially if I was eating something or carrying a drink, I wouldn't want to get within 5 feet of you because I would be so nervous about spilling something or getting something on a costume, and I know those costumes cost a lot of
Mhm.
money, a
Mhm.
lot of
Some of
time.
them cost a lot of money. Some of them the person put together and they put a lot of love and time of it. Some costumes, they're held together by duct tape, hot glue, and the sheer will of the cosplayer being on the con floor at that time, and they will fall apart at the single touch. So just in general, it's the best, I mean, the best policy to treat a cosplayer is kind of how you would a piece of art, just being like,
Yes.
"Hello, hi. May I
I,
have a picture? Thank you for permission for the picture. I'm going to stand here. If you want to put an arm around, you can do that, but just ask for permission." I've had people be like, "Hey, can I put my arm around you?" And I'm like, "Sorry, I'm not feeling like being touched right now, but thank you for asking. We can just stand here. How about a fun pose? We can do an alternative."
yeah, you must, because you must get tired of being on your feet, 'cause a lot of times you walk on the floor. I mean, you're walking the floor. That must be very tiresome.
You
How
can.
much? How many pounds does the lady? Help me. You guys help me out with. I can't. Lady Dimitrescu.
Dimitrescu.
Dimitrescu. Okay.
Yeah.
How many pounds does her costume weigh?
It depends. So, I have 7? 7 different variants of her outfit. Pardon me, the lightest one is a, very padded bra, so it doesn't weigh all that much, and a very lightweight white outfit. So that's more of, like, the summertime look that I have for her. That is just how much normal clothes would weigh for you. The heaviest part of that outfit is her shoes, which are about probably 5 pounds in total because 'cause they're very thick wedges. The heaviest one is the one with the stilts, because I think the stilts are about 15 to 20 pounds each. That's a very rough estimate, but the dress is a very, very good quality knit, so the dress is actually super heavy.
Um, Now, were you a seamstress before you got into cosplay, or did you have to become one out of necessity?
I taught myself, so all of the skills that I've learned for cosplaying, it's been through tutorials I've seen on the internet and just trying to do the thing, and then if I messed up, I messed up. I'll fix it, and then I'll try again later.
Let's see. Let's see. There's a oh yes, yes, yeah. We're talking about there was a professional football coach last year who was putting his hands wrong. Yeah, I mean sometimes people think that just because they can, they should. You're right.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Do you ever find yourself getting lost in your role, like almost thinking you are that character in real life? I mean, do you see yourself as Lady D?
Oh, no.
Uh,
Oh,
yeah.
no, 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 I don't see myself as Lady Dimitrescu. I try my best to do as accurate a portrayer as her, but there's a very big difference between Lady D and Vale. The closest character I have to myself that I could potentially see myself as is one of my original characters. Her name's Evelyn Rose, and it shortens down to ER, and she's a medical doctor. She's based out of the 40s, the 1940s is her time period.
That would be the same period as the shadow.
Mhm.
Nice. I'm gonna get something. We're gonna. Why
You're
not?
gonna see if you can get it on this.
Why the hell not to
Let me
Lamont
add it on
Cranston?
to my list
Yeah.
of
Why the hell
13
not
other looks I have for this year.
I mean, why the hell not can there a woman not be Lamont Cranston? Why couldn't
Hey,
she be a shadow?
listen, with how much coverage that outfit is, you won't even know I'm a female.
Mm-mm. So that would be so badass.
I've done male characters before as well too. With this current haircut, I
Yes,
pull
I
off
saw
male
that.
characters.
I saw that. I saw the video that you put out on your Instagram, and I was blown away because it was just so it was really cool. The one where you dress up both as a male and as a like it was straight out of the 40s.
Mhm,
You look like a damn femme fatale. It was amazing.
mhm.
Have you modeled before this or since started? Because you look like you're very comfortable in front of the camera. I mean, you have no fear for the camera. You're at home in front of it. So did you do any modeling before you got into cosplay?
Oh, no. No, no.
No.
Basically all of the stuff that you see me do for cosplay, I learned on the fly. I got into modeling a year and a half ago.
Yeah, you're natural. I
Mhm.
mean,
That's what
yeah,
one of my favorite photographers says. He brings me on as a consultant sometimes, and he's like, "You're just a natural. You got it." And I'm like,
mhm,
"Sweet, I'm just here."
yeah. And you collaborate with you collaborate too. I saw that too. So how does a collaboration work? I mean, do you talk about a convention that you're going to appear on, or what costume you're going to wear? Because I saw one where your collaborator is also Lady Demetrescu.
Mhm.
I just
Lady D.
thank you so much.
You're good. It's a hard name to say. It took a couple tries for myself as well
Uh,
too.
so I saw her dressed up like Lady D as well, and you had a all dark costume. Do you
Mhm.
guys talk about that before you go to your event to what you're gonna dress up as?
Mhm. So that was my meetup with Sarah, Life of Cosplay. So we've been friends for about a year and a half to 2 years, thanks to TikTok. And we've talked about meeting up and doing stuff beforehand. So we were actually meeting up originally to go to a lady's house who is selling historical clothing. So originally it was just her going, "Hey, I'm going to this place to get some historical clothing. You like historical clothing. Do you want to go with me?" And I'm like, "Heck yes, I want to go with you. This will be fantastic." And then I was like, "Hey, while we're there, do you want to do a photo shoot together?" And she's like, "Heck yes, we can do a photo shoot together. What about these characters?" So we originally were going to do our black, because I have a black atom and she has one of the female Shazam characters, and I do not remember the name of it for the life of me. But we were going to do completely different characters. So then she said, "We're going to be in this historical location. Why don't we do historical Lady Dimitrescu and Donna Benevito?" And I was like, "Fantastic! I can get one of my photographers out there." And that's how we did it. So that there's a bunch of different ways for how you can do collaborations depending upon where the location is. If you're going to be at a physical spot, or if you want to do an online. I've done a bunch of collaborations online, and that's where most of my stuff started off with. And most of the time, it's just an interest. Like one of the collaborations, it's creating a tag with one of the TikTokers called Puka Dotted, where she had a celestial space character, and I had a celestial space character. And I was like, "What if we took our two characters and we made a story based upon them?" And she said yes, and that's how it started.
Now, do you get asked? I'm sure you ask far more to collaborate with than you ask other people to collaborate with.
Typically not, no. Typically,
They ask you more than you ask them.
I ask them. There's
Really?
typically I ask. I love story building. I love story building so darn much and just working with a bunch of people. So, in comparison of the number of times that people have asked me versus how many I've asked a good couple more times. It's just so much fun.
Let's see. I'm gonna ask some questions here. I gotta get off that single minded. Like sometimes I get so involved with I forget, and it's like,
You're good.
so our friend Hobbs mentions, do you ever find yourself getting lost? Okay, we asked that one. He's a little curious about what kind of cosplay character requires stilts. So yeah, I guess you want to get the backstory about Lady D
I can do
real quick?
that.
Yeah.
So, Lady Dimitrescu is from the Resident Evil Village 8 movie, not movie, a video game. It came out a year and a half ago or so, and Lady Dimitrescu is 9 feet tall, She was given the Kadu, which is a mold that helped give her this amazing height and strength. And so the character is 9 feet tall. You don't have to be 9 feet tall to portray the character. Most people don't, because 9 feet tall is very, very intimidating. For me, I like to try to go as canon accurate as I can for characters. And I've been trying to see if I can get stilts for this character for a while now. I just needed the time to be able to learn how to use the stilts.
Mhm.
There are a lot of other characters who are also taller. So there's a variety of other characters, such as Jadis, where I can use the stilts for it. So it's just about comfort level and how far you want to go to see how canon accurate you can get.
Um, yeah, like I had a, like I kept on going like, okay, who's this character? Who's this character? And then I
Mhm.
went ahead and I read about it, and I'm going like, okay, I gotta ask. I gotta before I ask her to talk to her, I gotta ask. I gotta figure out who her character is. So I figured it out, and I'm going like, wow, I didn't even know that they had released another game, a Resident Evil game. I was so because I'm not a video game player.
Mhm.
I mean, unless it's football or baseball.
Yeah.
Um, that's the extent of mine. Yeah, I can't do video. I can't do the shoot 'em ups or anything else like that. I get
Oh
vertigo.
yeah.
I just get
Oh,
like
yep.
lost.
Same. Mhm.
The same thing. The first time I tried to play Duke Nukem, I was Duke Nukem in the bathroom because I just couldn't. I was just so discombobulated. Uh, but I wanted to read about the character, and I'm like, oh, I didn't even know they released a film. Released a new game.
Mhm.
And then I typed in I typed in among some friends. I'm like, have you ever heard of this? Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. And they say, it's like, oh, I know who she is, and I
Mhm.
read her backstory, and it reminded me a little bit about Countess Bathory a little bit.
Mhm.
Staying eternally young and having the daughters and whatnot. I thought the character was really cool. Uh,
She's a cool design. I really like the design.
let's see. See, see, the professor wants to know if you could have unlimited financial resources to build your dream cosplay. What would it be?
Soundwave. Generation 1 Soundwave.
From
I would,
Transformers?
yes, I love Transformers.
Wow.
I love Transformers so much. I would go all out. I would want to be able to get the LEDs. I want to get the voice backs. I want to be able to have a compartment that pops open so I can pull out little
You know what? I got
Casseticons
one
that I
better.
can transform.
I got one better. I got one better. And you know what?
Mm.
Three of us could do this. Three of us. We build a Jaeger. We'll become Gypsy
I
Danger.
don't like Jaegers. I never could get into it. I like the Transformers more. I never could
But
get
we
into
would, but we would
Gundam.
be, but we'd be in the drift. We could have the cheetah hang out with us.
Nope. Nope.
I
I
saw that.
watched it and I sat there and I was like,
It is
okay,
pretty.
so they basically just wanted to have Godzilla come back.
Huh?
They basically wanted to have like Godzilla type characters come back, which is fine. They're really, really cool. But it wasn't one of my favorite movies.
I thought the first generation of costume, that when they first went out, when Raleigh and his brother went out at first,
Mm,
and all the costumes, I thought that was really cool looking because it looked so aged. It didn't look brand new or shiny new like it did later on in the film. But you gotta admit, Vale, that when that came out, their new armor, when him and Mako jumped in the gypsy, you have to admit that armor looked tight as hell. The
mm.
helmets and everything else. But I get it. I mean, I know a lot of people love Transformers,
Oh
but
yeah.
I've actually seen a couple of people actually dress up in Jaegers, and it's just like to me, I'm like, one, it's like, how the hell are you? How I mean, it's a damn Jaeger. It's like it's so big, but
Hmm.
they did it. It's
Hmm.
so how long does it usually take you to go from from drawing from pattern to complete a costume? Like how long did it take you to make your Lady D's? How many Lady D costumes do you have, by the way?
7. I have 7 different variants.
7 variants. Okay. So we know I know the red one.
Mhm.
Uh
There's the red one, that's for Christmas. I have a normal white one that is not stilts, so that's a normal one for walking around. I have a white one that is distressed and covered in blood, and that's what I call Feral Lady D. I have the black variant that she has in the video game. I have a Hooters version of Lady
oh,
D.
a
I'm
what?
work Hooters.
Like the restaurant?
Yep, like the restaurant.
Okay. I don't think I've
That's
seen
also
it.
on my Instagram.
Is it?
Mhm.
Okay.
It's a bit
Everyone
ways
sees
down.
it.
I have one that is so I'm revamping the very first costume that I made for her. I'm repurposing that costume instead of throwing away. I'm reusing it to make a cursed surprise variant of Lady D. And then I have the tall stilted version.
Okay. Okay. Now, how long did now each costume is handmade? That's another thing too. We got to get. I want to emphasize that is that
Except
all
for the
your all
Hooters. Except for the Hooters.
okay. I haven't seen the Hooters. Okay, so 6 out of the 7 are all handmade.
Mhm.
How long? I mean, were you a seamstress before this? I mean, you said you were self-taught. So
Mhm.
what was the first thing that you made that was it the Laura Croft that you took? Because or did you adapt that like cutting cut the pants off and build in your holsters and that sort of thing.
So the very first costume that I made, so there was the Jurassic Park Ranger. That was my very first costume I put together ever. That was half of the stuff I had in closet, half of the stuff that I found to make the rest of the outfit. The second cosplay I did was Jadis, White Witch of Narnia, and that one was completely handmade. So for timeline wise, the most recent version of the Lady Dimitrescu with the stilts, I've made that. I've worked with that pattern a good couple times already, so I'm familiar with it. I know how it works. I know how the puzzle pieces go together. That took me about 2 weeks to make that dress. The very first time that I used that pattern is when I made the black version of the dress, and that took me 2 months.
Oh, 2 months, right? Okay,
Mhm.
okay,
So
man, I could yeah.
the the
Now did you just have to did you have to just try it on over and over and over again before
mhm,
you wow,
mhm.
that's dedication. That's
Well,
that's a lot of dedication.
the longest time I've ever put into making a costume was about a year and a half, but that involved multiple times of me taking a pause, putting the costume away, bringing it out, working on it again, taking a pause, working away. And that was my hunter car from Welcome to Night Vale. She's completely purple. She's got a
Yeah,
big headpiece.
I just found out that, because I thought Night Vale, I thought that was a part of Lady D's world too. I thought that was
Yep.
Resident Evil. And then I found out that, because you have this god of Night Vale, and I'm going like, okay, what is Night Vale? And so I went ahead and I typed in on Facebook, I typed in Night Vale groups, and
Mhm.
then thinking, I saw the picture, I saw it come up, and going like, oh, now I get it. I
Welcome to
know
Night Vale.
yeah, this is not Lady D. This is a whole different world.
Oh
So
no.
now I have to go explore that world.
Oh
Um,
yes, yes. Oh, it's so good. It's so good.
Now is that a novel? Is that a based off a series of books, or is it a radio play, or
It's a podcast. It's been turned into a book now that they've had multiple podcasts out that they can put together a big giant book. It is it's very cryptid based. So it's kind of dark. It is presented from the perspective of a radio host for this tiny little town called Night Vale. It's in the middle of the desert, and all of these weird cryptid things happen in this town of Night Vale, and you got to pay attention because it moves very, very fast. Because typically I can have it up on the side and I'll just be doing something idly, and if I lose focus for about 5 seconds and then come back and I'll be like, wait, why is the football player with 5 heads now? Why does the football player have got to go back and listen to it again?
mm-hmm.
So it's a good podcast. I recommend.
Do you ever watch The Secret Saturdays?
No, but I did watch The Twilight Zone.
I love The Secret Saturdays. That's such an advanced cartoon.
Mhm.
Such an advanced cartoon. I have Nicole Sullivan's one of my Grail guests. I want to get her on here because
Ooh.
I want to talk to her about The Secret Saturdays. Um, That's right. See, you guys are all surprised by what I do know. See, mhm. Be afraid. Be very afraid. Uh, let's see, Vale. Serious question here. Would you ever do a? That's an interesting question. Let's ask her that. That's a good question. Would you ever do a Mothra cosplay or Lydia from Beetlejuice? If you say yes to Mothra, you'll break my heart. You will break my heart if you say you would do a Mothra. So would you do a Mothra cosplay if you could?
I've already done a moth cosplay.
A Mothra.
Not Mothra, a moth. I've
No,
done
we're
Mothra?
talking
No, not
we're talking
specific.
about
I
Mothra.
wouldn't do Mothra. I'd do Mothman. I would do Mothman. I love
Okay.
Mothman.
Okay, so she would do Mothman, but she would not do Mothra. Thank you, because that would break my heart. You would do giant, you do Kaiju and Mothra, but wouldn't do Pacific Rim. That would hurt my feelings. Um, uh, let's see. Is there a cosplayer player out there that you would love to collaborate with? What's 3 or 4 cosplay players out there right now whose game is just on point on the
Oh,
same level as yours that you would like to collaborate with?
same level as mine. Well, I would try to shoot for higher if I can. Listen,
I don't
uh,
know if there is higher.
there is higher.
You have to show
Allison
that.
Tabitha, she's fantastic. Her stuff is amazing. Cutie Pie Sensei does such good stuff. Rain and Marie, amazing. She does so many different fantasy looks, and she also makes all her own costumes as well too, as well as selling them. Flipping fantastic. Um, Halsey Bella, I think is how you pronounce her Instagram. Also fantastic, so good. There's a lot of
You're gonna have
cosplayers
to
out
send
there.
those. You have to send those all to us, and then then we'll turn around and we'll let you know. We'll let you
Wait,
know what we
actually,
think.
can I see comments? I can't see
Yeah.
comments. Can I
Yes.
type in here?
Yeah. Underneath the comments, I think you should be able to type in.
Let's see. Let's see. I can't type in the comments, but I can type in the private chat.
Yes. It should come up once you type it. I should be able to go see what you. Um. Okay. Let me see what you said.
And these guys are also all on Instagram as well too as TikTok. And those are just
Okay.
4 amazing cosplayers just
Oh,
off the
okay. So
top of
those are
my
the
head.
ones right there. Okay.
Mhm.
All right. So those are the ones that. Yep. Okay. I'll keep that, and I will go. Now, is there any male ones? I mean, I see they're all females. Are they any? Is there any male ones out there that are kicking butt out there?
Male cosplayers? Oh, yes, there's a couple of them. I just can't remember their usernames right now.
Okay.
I'd have to go back and look to double check to see how they spell them. One I would like to cosplay in person is Scott Wartooth. I've been friends with him for a good long while, but he's all over the way in the UK. I'd have
Yeah.
to catch him when he comes visits the United States.
Where do you think the what region do you think is more? You mentioned. Oh, let me go ask you this first. You mentioned one of the cosplayers makes their own costumes and sells them.
Yes.
Do you do that as well?
Do I sell them? I don't sell mine because, to be able to make enough costumes to be able to sell, I don't have enough time, what with my current job right
Yeah.
now. So I would have to probably quit my current job to then dedicate, being full-time to be able to make them. I have been talking with people about doing commissions. That's been a, topic of conversation for this upcoming year, so that's a possibility. To sell my own costumes that I have made, I have done that before.
Oh, you have.
Um,
Okay.
mhm.
Yeah, I was gonna say commissions might be something fun. I mean, you could do 3 or 4 a year. I think your day job sounds actually fascinating. I wouldn't want you to give that up.
Oh, no, I don't want to give my day job up. I love my day job.
I think that's really cool. Uh, hey, glad you're here, media, pro physical media in the house. Glad you were here. Let's see, Professor has a good question. Do you work with foam? What is the best adhesive to glue foam and not have it split open? Yeah, how do you protect your skin? You mentioned earlier that you were having a reaction to your eyes because you wear those colorful lenses. How do you protect your skin from the materials that you use?
So typically for makeup, it's best to have a primer down to help protect your skin. I tried a brand new eyeshadow palette earlier and that I've never used before, so I think that's what my eyes are having a reaction to is that new eyeshadow palette. Protection for skin while working with foam. I have worked with foam before. I'm still slowly getting into it. I've built a good couple pieces. E6000 is a really good one to use that I've had the best work with. You can try contact cement. It back for me, honestly, when I use the contact cement, but if you're going to do work with foam and use any sort of adhesive, make sure that you are using it in a very well ventilated space. If you're worried about having contact with the adhesive, make sure that you have some gloves on. Um, or just be very, very careful. You can use scrap pieces of foam as a way to make sure that you don't come in contact with the adhesives if you need to wipe something off. Use a ventilator as well too, and if you're worried about your eyes, you can also wear safety goggles and put a drop sheet down as well too. To make sure it doesn't split open, you can use clamps. You can the binders for like office work binders. You can use those. Those will potentially leave a dent in your foam, though. It also depends upon what type of foam you're using. You can get some really nice EVA foam, say from Walmart. Don't go with Joann's because the EVA foam at Joann's is honestly overpriced. Same thing for Michael's. You can get bulk EVA foam from Lowe's, Home Depot, and Amazon. But there's a bunch of different foams that you can use depending upon your price budget and what type of material you want to work with. The best that you can work with, if you can get your hands on it, is Warbler, because that is very easy to, it's very malleable and easy to form, and it also will make a very nice firm surface. And make sure you seal. You can use a heat gun to seal your foam.
Yeah, I saw you mentioned that heat seal. You make tiers. You put glue. Is it hot glue and use for tiers?
Yes, you can use hot glue to make fake tears for your face. Do not listen, chat. Do not put hot glue directly on your face. Please do not. You can use a piece of tile, such as a bathroom surface or a kitchen surface, and you can put it on a piece of aluminum foil. Just draw out your little shape for the hot glue tear, and then just let it dry, and then it'll peel right off. Then you use eyelash glue to put it on your
Okay.
face. Eyelash
Have
glue.
you have you done tutorials yet on your TikTok or your
Mhm.
Instagram? Have you done tutorials on how to apply these things for any up and comers that like to say we're all new, but if we wanted to do this, do you have like tutorials that we could learn from?
I have various tutorials on my TikTok, not as many as I would like to, but I do have some on there. I'm working on getting more up this year.
Um, let's see. Yeah. Yeah. We can ask. Yes. I can tell you what it's not going to be, but it's going to be. What other Transformers would you like to be? Would you like to be Optimus
Oh,
Prime?
no. Optimus Prime is so done over and over. I don't want to do Bumblebee either. Um,
What about
Other
Starscream?
Transformers. Okay, Starscream, specifically Armada Starscream. That is one of the best versions of Starscream, in my opinion. I loved Armada. Beast
Uh-huh.
Machines was also really, really cool, but that would be a lot of work. Just any Transformer would be a lot of work. Either Ratchet is one that I'm actually have on the list for this year for me to work on, doing a humanized version of Ratchet.
How about this? What costumes are overdone? Like everybody and their mom does it, besides the stormtroopers.
Always the stormtroopers. But I blame the 501st for that because that's a nationwide group. Um, you will see the Harley Quinns,
Uh,
Batmans, Deadpools, Spider-Mans. You don't see
well,
that many Supermans.
yeah.
Jinx,
So it's
Genshin
not a
Impact.
superhero.
Genshin Impact is really, really big right now.
Okay.
What else
Okay.
has been up and coming really big? Demon Slayer is really, really big right now. I see a lot of Demon Slayer as well too.
I
And
remember when I was going to cons, Sailor Moon was pretty popular.
I wish
Um,
that would come back. I like the Sailor Moon cosplayers. They were always very nice.
I know One Piece is pretty popular. Um, you would never get caught dead in a Dragon Ball Z, though, would you?
Yes, you would. That's coming back. I have Ebola.
So you would tell me honestly, you would do Dragon Ball Z before you did Pacific Rim?
Yes. I have done Dragon Ball Z
No.
before I would
That's
do
like the worst.
Pacific Rim.
That is like the worst cartoon ever. Oh
No,
God,
it's not the worst cartoon ever. It is not the worst cartoon ever. I've seen worse.
really? Like what? I'm curious.
Overwatch
What?
Overwatch is not that overdone, actually. It had a big
Okay.
fallout when Blizzard had their, oh, what was it? Their HR issues that came out about a year ago.
Do companies ever, like, if a company if a character becomes super popular really fast, like this is for the hell of it, let's say like Wonder Woman, do the companies, the studios that own them, do they have it? Do they? Is there any way for them to get their fingers into the pie, so to speak? Like, wow, there's so many costumes being made, so many people doing this doing this character. We're going to charge a licensing fee for that, or is that just
They're trying. Marvel, there is currently, and this I just saw on TikTok, it's not confirmed yet, but a couple cosplayers who do Marvel characters have been receiving cease and desists from supposedly Marvel. And we're waiting to hear back from Marvel HR if that was a legitimate thing or if it was someone just playing a very not so nice trick. Typically, you won't see companies do a cease and desist with cosplayers because that is free advertisement for them.
right?
Companies will reach out to cosplayers if they are big enough and they will bring them in to be at these events. Like, say, for example, we just had Shazam, the new Shazam movie that just came out. A bunch of really good Shazam cosplayers were brought in for the premiere to be there on the red carpet to show off what the characters are. Marvel typically does that for a lot of their movies. Like when the Doctor Strange movie came out, they brought in a bunch of Marvel cosplayers to be there to the point where they had so many cosplayers, they had a three-stack tier for them to stand on. So the thing is if Marvel is starting to now do the thing where they are going to tell people to cease and desist, it's going to be a big hit for them. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
I was just thinking because you were talking earlier about making money off of it. Like, I guess for a cosplayer, it wouldn't be a fan movie. It would be like costume, like contests. Like some of these places they can offer hundreds of dollars in prizes. And yeah, here you go, you walk up there and you're Captain America, and this is how the Captain America wins the prize, and you walk off there with maybe seven, $800, $900 in cash money. Is that something that Marvel would look at and go like, yeah, so you're making money off of that, and we want our slice, or nobody gets it, or no.
It depends. I mean, I think for Marvel, that amount of money it's barely pennies to them. So I don't see them worrying too much about that, considering
I
that
think they,
typically those funds are put together by the contest,
I,
by
I
the convention, sorry.
I think they try to do that just to protect themselves. Like you don't want to open that Pandora's box. Like if you let one do it, you'll get 10, and then you'll get 30, and then you get 100, and before you know it, then you have no control at all, and then it's a terrible legal thing. So I can sort of understand why them being a little bit anal, a little bit. I mean, just a very. I don't think they should at all. To me, it's like you're right. To me, it's free advertisement.
And that's the main thing. If you look at the advertisement for it, advertising commercials will cost you anywhere of a good couple $100,000 to get a good one, especially for Marvel quality. But if they can get a cosplayer who will do a homemade video that is very good quality and that cosplayer will get blown up because of that character, that's much better free advertisement for them. And they don't have to do the work for it.
Well, so I'm almost out of time here, but let me ask you a couple more questions. Um, oh, we got a question for you from Pro Physical Media. He wants to know, have Japanese companies been hard to work with? What companies do you work with?
It depends upon which type of company specifically you're looking at. I've worked with a couple Asian companies, but I'm not sure if they were Japanese, if they were Chinese, if they were Korean. Typically, they've been, in my experience, quite polite. There has been a language barrier issue, but we both worked with it back and forth, and it was quite an amicable exchange. In my experience, they haven't been hard to work with. But I'm also a smaller cosplayer, so I'm not getting the attention of like bigger Japanese social media.
Um, so what's on? I know that March is going to basically kicking off convention season.
Mhm.
So how many conventions do you usually go to a year? Like for this year, how many conventions are you planning on going to?
For this year, right now the only one that I currently have scheduled is just one. But mostly because I do have a bunch of other expenses that have come up. I'm flying out maybe 3 or so times this year, so more of that money of what I would potentially put for. conventions and stuff has been delegated to other stuff. So I might go to a few other conventions, but right now the only one that I have planned is just one. Maybe a second one in July, depending upon, again, how expenses go.
Vale, I am so tickled that you came out to hang out with us. I'm so honored. Thank you so much. I've been looking forward to this. I've been looking forward to this one since I did it. So I just really admire. I always admire somebody with a skill set like you have. I mean,
Thank you.
really fun, and I will definitely send you the Sneaky Zebra stuff over too. This has been fun. I hope that you keep bringing your content over to Instagram. We'll
Mhm.
have all her information down below in the description box, and so if you want to go over there and check her out, I recommend that. If you don't know what Night Vale is, I guess I should put the. I'll get that from you as well, and we'll put that on there, so now you can understand what Night Vale is. Um, have you thought about doing a podcast yourself? You're a really good speaker.
I have thought about doing a podcast before. I've had people tell me that I should, considering that just how my normal talking patterns are. Again, it's just about time and if I would have the time for it.
I'm taking your background as Irish. You have an
Yes.
Irish belt, yes. You
I
have.
have a Yep, my mom's side of the family is Irish, and I've lived in Australia and all over the United States. So it's a weird hodgepodge of a bunch of different accents thrown together.
No, I hear the Irish more than anything else. I was like, this is just pretty amazing since I'm Irish. Um,
Hey.
uh, hi, Silent Shred. How are you? How are you? I'm glad you're here. Unfortunately, we are about ready to jump off here. So I want to thank everybody in the chat that came out and supported this interview. This has been a lot of fun. A lot of fun. Next time that Vale will be here, she will be here as the Shadow, and we'll make that happen.
When will can we schedule that for 2024?
We could. I don't know. Yeah, we might be able to do that. We might be able to do that. That would. I don't know. I sort of like sitting there going like, you know what? With her skill set, she could whip out Lamont Cranston in about a couple of months. Yeah.
Oh, if I
That
could
would.
find that at a thrift store, I could probably put that together nice and easy. That's not all that hard. That's something that you can go to your local thrift store and find the pieces for.
Yeah. See, so I don't think you would have to wait till 2024.
That just
Um,
depends upon other stuff I have to do first.
yes, I understand. Okay, before we go, let me tell you what's coming up because we do have other things coming up. Because this is Women in Horror Month. So Monday the 20th, we have Lola Vegas will be out here with us. Actress Lola Vegas will be out here with us at 8 o'clock. On the 21st, we have actress and comedian Lauren Faulkner will be with us at 8 p.m. On the 22nd, actress Audrey Neal will be here with us at 8 p.m. And then on the 23rd, we have actress and makeup effects artist Angel Bradford will be here with us on the 8 o'clock. On the 20
Ooh.
on the 23rd, yeah, she's amazing. Her first job that she did as special effects. She made her own head, right? She made a copy of her own head for the movie, and then she
Mhm.
got to chop it off.
Oh, I love that. That's amazing.
So I love it too. Hi Jesse, how are you? How are you? Glad you're here. Unfortunately, we're about ready to jump off. Stay with me one more minute, Vale, and everybody else. I gotta go. I gotta let her go. She's got somewhere to go, and we will talk to you on Monday. Peace.
Bye.